Welcome. This is the big one now. President-elect Nana Akufo-Addo has named former Interior Minister and Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, Dr. Albert Kandapah, as Minister for National Security. The President-elect also named Brigadier General Emmanuel Ochiri as the National Security Advisor.
The National Security Advisor. I've decided upon very eminent soldier. That is Brigadier General Emmanuel Ochiri is the name. The operator, as it were, the coordinator, who is so-called the National Security Coordinator, is Joshua Treme. The minister, as you know, the Security and Intelligence Act 526, calls for the designation of a minister with ministerial responsibility for the intelligence agencies and their work, who will be also the accountability person for Parliament and for the public. His name will have to go before Parliament for approval before we can announce him as the minister. But he is, if you like, the minister designate on my part for the national security. Albert Kandapah.
Right, we have on the telephone lines Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, who is a former National Security Advisor under President Mahama. Good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening. That's Stephen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Stephen.
Thank you very much. Now, Brigadier General Emmanuel Ochiri is now the new Security Advisor. What will his role really entail?
Well, a security advisor is the principal advisor to the president on all security issues. He must be a very knowledgeable person to be able to handle any issue to do with security. I mean, I can always give you my own experience, with President, in fact, with President Mills, not President Mahama. And there was no issue that he wouldn't call me and ask me to give him advice on almost any issue. Not only security issues of even the economy. Because at that level, you must be knowledgeable on all major issues and should be able to advise the president. For example, if you want to do something with the economy, the impact of that on the population, you should be able to assess and advise you. And that was my job. I think that's what's going to be the new advisory job with the incoming president.
Right. So I want to know whether your military background brought any specialty to that role, and that you expect Brigadier General Ochiri to also have that same influence on the role?
It did indeed. It was very important that for more than 50 years, of my military career, I've been involved with national security. In fact, as early as 1963, 54 years ago, I was working in the intelligence, and I grew up over the years, having training all over the place, in the Soviet Union, in America, in Britain, all kinds of places. So that is an important thing that, would help. But also, as a military man, we are now dealing with a very fluid situation around the world. So a combination of all those experiences will make me a very good advisor to the president. I mean, for example, I'm giving a present example. Again, a few years ago, we had a problem with Côte d'Ivoire, and they would demand that Ghana should take part in an assault on Côte d'Ivoire to remove Mr. Gbagbo from power. And, my president called me and said, General, I haven't fired a gun before. You have been a military man all your life. Now you tell me, what should we do? Exactly. What should you do? Should you go to war? What do we do? And this is where my experience over the past 50 years came into play. I had to take him through a lecture, from a 2-hour lecture on warfare, from Second World War to Indochina, to Korea, to South Vietnam War, all the way to Iraq and Afghanistan. And then to educate him that there are consequences when you go to war. And that he should understand what would happen if we should go to war. And then he was, left to make a decision when he'd been properly briefed on what is likely to happen. So this is what I expect, that your career in the military and, wider knowledge of security matters will be very useful in this role.
Right, Brigadier General Nunu Mensah, we're grateful for your time this evening. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Brigadier General Nunu Mensah is a former national security advisor.